The Shire, in its modesty, really didn't have much appeal for the great powers of Middle-earth. Its small size, lack of strategic position, and unremarkable resources made it an unworthy prize for the ambitions of the dark forces. Even the hobbits themselves, humble and unassuming, were not of interest to the mighty kingdoms beyond. But the true safeguard of the Shire wasn't only in its insignificance, but in the unseen protection of the Dunedain Rangers. These watchful guardians patrolled its borders, ensuring that no harm befell the peaceful folk within. Over time, though, the hobbits, long accustomed to peace, grew forgetful of these protectors, and most of the current hobbits didn't even know of their existence. Hobbits were a folk deeply tied to the earth, and so their homes, known as hobbit holes or smiles, were carved into the very hills and mounds of the Shire. These cozy burrows were as much a part of the landscape as the trees and rivers, designed for comfort and simplicity. But as the years rolled on, some hobbits, especially those with a touch more wealth or adventure in their blood, began to build houses above the ground. Even so, the essence of hobbit architecture didn't really change. Round doors and windows that invited warmth, hearths at the heart of every home, and a deep connection to the world outside. To a hobbit, a home wasn't just a place to live, but a reflection of their way of life, rooted in comfort and quiet, with the natural world always at arm's reach. Their early culture grew slowly, until it eventually became the way of life that defines what it is to be a hobbit, in the minds of many at least. When the Shire was first settled, farming became the heart of their existence. Hobbits were masters of the land, growing crops, brewing fine ales, and tending to gardens with a care that seemed almost instinctual. Fields of wheat and barley stretched across the Shire, and flower gardens bloomed in every corner. But of all the things they grew, probably the most famous was pipeweed, a humble plant that hobbits dried and smoked. What began as a simple habit among their people soon spread to the wider world. Rangers of the north took up the practice, and even Gandalf became quite fond of it, and you'd often see him puffing thoughtfully on his pipe. Alongside pipeweed, the hobbits became known for their brewing, particularly in the South Farthing, where the richest soil produced the finest of ales. A hobbit could speak with pride about the ale from his or her village tavern, knowing that nothing in the wide world could quite compare. But for all their skill in farming and brewing, what truly set hobbits apart was their sense of community. They were a people who valued family, friendship, and above all, hospitality. They took every opportunity to gather together, whether it was feasts, festivals, or a good old party. Hobbits prided themselves on their ability to throw a celebration like no other, with food and drink flowing in abundance and laughter echoing through the mounds of the Shire. And in true hobbit fashion, their birthdays became an occasion for giving instead of receiving. On their special day, it was the birthday hobbit who handed out gifts. In the end, hobbit culture wasn't about grand gestures or noble quests. It was about the simple joys of a well-tended garden, a good pipe, and the warmth of friends and family gathered around a table. It was a life lived close to the earth, but with hearts open to the world. And then along came Bilbo Baggins. For generations, the hobbits of the Shire had lived quietly, untouched by the great events of Middle-earth. But that changed in the year 2941 of the Third Age, when a hobbit by the name of Bilbo Baggins, a well-to-do, decidedly unadventurous resident of Hobbiton, found himself swept into an adventure unlike any the Shire had ever known.